Have you ever had the strange feeling that someone around you feels something much deeper for you than they let on? Have you ever noticed a glance that lingers just a second longer than it should? A subtle touch, almost imperceptible, but loaded with intention. Sometimes love doesn't walk through the front door. It slips through the cracks, whispers where everyone else shouts, hides in the most ordinary details. And no matter how silent it is, it always leaves traces. Love, when it's real, doesn't need a spotlight. It doesn't demand to be seen, but it can't be completely hidden either. It reveals itself without words, through simple gestures that might seem ordinary at first glance. An unexpected act of care, a casual mention of something you once said, a sudden interest in the things you enjoy, a silence that comforts, a presence that soothes. And then the question arises, does this person feel the same? Am I just imagining these signs, or is there really something there? A deep feeling. Maybe even unconscious? Carl Jung, one of the great names in analytical psychology, said that authentic love isn't expressed only through words or stereotypical romantic gestures. It manifests above all in an invisible connection, one that transcends what is said. It's a kind of dance between two unconscious minds that recognize each other before the conscious ones are ready to understand what's happening. It's not uncommon to come across someone who loves you but has never said it. Sometimes out of fear, sometimes because they don't know how to handle their own feelings, other times because even they aren't fully aware of how much you mean to them, and yet the love escapes. It leaks out. It spills over the edges of a cup that no one realizes is already too full. That's why today, here on the Unshakable Mind channel, we're going to embark on a journey of self-awareness and emotional perception. We're going to explore the most subtle yet revealing signs that someone might secretly be in love with you. This isn't about guessing games or mind tricks. It's about sensitivity, about reading between the lines, about observing body language, eye contact, and silence. Because love might not declare itself in words, but it speaks, and it speaks loudly to those who've learned to listen with their hearts. You might be surrounded by feelings that haven't yet been spoken. There may be someone who loves you in silence, struggling with their emotions, waiting for the right moment, or maybe hoping that you'll notice and say something first. And if you learn to recognize the right signs, you might be surprised by the depth of what's been around you all along. Throughout this video, we'll explore one by one the most common signs of unspoken love. Some of these signs are almost universal, while others are more subtle, more personal. But they all have one thing in common. They point to the existence of a real connection, one that goes far beyond what the eyes can see. Are you ready to finally notice what's been right in front of you all along? Then take a deep breath. Quiet the outside noise for a moment. Let your intuition work alongside your reason, and get ready to see with new eyes what, until now, you may have only sensed as a distant, almost instinctive feeling. Let's begin by exploring one of the most curious and revealing signs that someone is secretly in love: unconscious imitation. Maybe you've never noticed it, but there's something deeply meaningful when someone starts copying you without even realizing it. Have you ever noticed that over time, some people start talking like you, using your expressions, your slang, even laughing in a similar way? Have you seen them begin to like the same music, show interest in the same movies, or change small habits to get closer, almost without realizing it? Maybe, during a casual lunch, this person orders the exact same dish as you. Maybe they start dressing in a similar style. Or perhaps they begin using an emoji that only you used to use in conversations. The truth is, this is no coincidence. It's connection. This behavior has a name in psychology: mirroring. Mirroring is an instinctive phenomenon that happens when someone feels a deep sense of affinity, empathy, or attraction toward another person. It's as if the brain, driven by an invisible force, is saying, "I want to get closer. I want to be understood. I want to create a bond." And so, almost without realizing it, we begin to copy, or better yet reflect, the gestures, words, tastes, and behaviors of those who touch us emotionally. But why does this happen? The human brain has special neurons called mirror neurons, responsible for this unconscious tendency to imitate others. They're activated when we observe someone doing something, and they cause us to, in a way, experience what the other person is feeling or doing. That's why yawns are contagious, or why we cringe when we see someone get hurt. But when emotional involvement is present, this mechanism deepens. The mirroring becomes more frequent, more intense, and more revealing. Carl Jung would say this process is a subtle form of emotional synchronicity, where two unconscious minds touch and begin to resonate with each other. And even if the conscious mind is still in denial or confused, the body, through the silent language of gestures and patterns, is already declaring its feelings. Imagine for a moment that the other person is a mirror, and everything you do begins to be reflected more and more clearly by someone who might not yet have the courage to admit what they feel. This is more than curiosity, more than friendship. It's raw love, still unshaped by reason or words. So the next time you notice someone adopting your mannerisms, changing little things about themselves to resemble you more, or adjusting their interest to match yours, pause, observe, reflect. This might be a powerful sign that this person is trying, even unconsciously, to connect with you on a deeper level, and that is the first sign that love may be manifesting silently, the unconscious attempt to align with you. But silent love doesn't always show itself through closeness. Sometimes it reveals itself through distance. Yes, it may seem paradoxical, even confusing, but the second sign is just as mysterious and just as real. 2. They pull away at the wrong moments. How many times have you felt someone was getting emotionally closer to you, building a connection, sharing secrets, exchanging deep looks, and then suddenly, as if something inexplicable happened, that person pulled away? Maybe their tone of voice changed. Maybe they started replying more coldly, canceling plans, avoiding conversations. You felt the shift, but couldn't understand why. This kind of withdrawal usually isn't rational. It's instinctive. It's a reflection of fear. When a feeling grows too strong inside someone who isn't emotionally ready to face it, or who fears rejection, vulnerability, or judgment, the first reaction might be to run, to hide, to create distance, as if pulling away were a way to control something that inside has already become uncontrollable. It's like someone burning themselves on something hot. The natural reflex is to pull back, and so this person retreats in the most delicate, most beautiful moments. When the bond could deepen, they pull away. But if you look closely, you'll notice it's not disinterest, it's fear, it's not coldness, it's self-protection. Very often, someone who loves in silence doesn't know how to handle their own heart. They might carry old wounds. They might have trauma from rejection. They could be fighting their feelings because, deep down, they believe they won't be loved back. And so even while feeling, even while wanting to be close, they choose to run. The pain of absence in these cases is an echo of the intensity of the emotion. Because only someone who truly cares pulls away out of fear. And that's the second sign. Unexpected distance, especially when everything seemed to be going well, is often a form of emotional self-defense from someone who loves, but isn't ready to accept that love yet. In the next segments, we'll continue exploring these silent but powerful signs that reveal when someone is harboring deep feelings for you, even if they've never said a single word about it. Perhaps one of the greatest paradoxes of silent love is this. Instead of coming closer in the most meaningful moments, the person who secretly loves you pulls away, not because they feel nothing, but because they feel too much. Not out of disinterest, but out of fear of what that interest might reveal. And that's when the contradictions begin to show. Have you ever experienced something like this? Are you going through a vulnerable moment, a phase of change, and the person you thought would be by your side disappears? The one you felt understood you most deeply suddenly turns cold, distant. They seem to avoid your presence, ignore your glances, change the subject when you talk about feelings, or act strangely uncomfortable when someone else gets close to you, whether it's a friend, a co-worker, or even someone showing romantic interest. As frustrating as this behavior may seem, it's often not a lack of care. In most cases, it's the exact opposite. It's care so deep that it overflows in the form of fear. When someone loves in silence, they're fighting an internal war between the urge to speak up and the fear of exposure, between the desire to be close and the fear of being rejected, of seeming vulnerable, of losing control. Because to love truly requires courage, and not everyone is ready to face what comes after opening their heart. Carl Jung said that what we don't bring to consciousness appears as fate, and in this case, what isn't verbalized, what isn't acknowledged, begins to leak through actions. The behavior becomes contradictory. The person pulls away when they really want to get closer. They avoid eye contact while silently begging for your attention. They go quiet when everything inside them is screaming for a gesture from you. These disappearances, these mood shifts, those absences right when you needed them most, are often unconscious forms of self-protection. It's that classic, "I'll pull away before you see too much of me." It's emotional armor, a reflex shaped by old wounds, by past experiences that taught them love is dangerous, that showing feelings is risky. That being too transparent can come at a cost, so don't be fooled by the distance. It doesn't always mean indifference. Sometimes it's the purest sign of a heart that loves but is afraid. And the more this person tries to deny what they feel, the more their body, voice, and eyes betray them, because love, no matter how hidden, always finds a crack to slip through. And one of the most telling cracks is teasing. 3. Playful. Teasing, yes. It might seem strange at first, but repressed love often shows up in unexpected ways. One of the most common, jokes, seemingly innocent teasing, silly remarks that deep down say much more than they appear to. You know when someone makes a joke about the two of you being a couple, but then laughs nervously, as if testing your reaction. Or when they tease you about something trivial, your way of talking, your style, your choices. But there's a sparkle in their eyes that completely contradicts their tone of voice. These little jokes, when filled with affection, are like hidden emotional clues, subtle attempts to get closer, to build intimacy, to touch without touching directly. It's the classic kidding, but not really. It's the heart trying to communicate through what feels like a safe route. Because through teasing, the person feels like they can move closer without committing too much. They can test the waters. They can say, "I was just joking," if they sense you're not feeling the same. But if there's a spark in your smile, if your laughter meets theirs, if something electric hangs in the air, then maybe, just maybe, that moment is the space they've been hoping for to truly get closer. In this context, playful teasing is like a car's headlights in an emotional fog. It lights the way gently, suggests possibilities, tests boundaries, and that's why when someone who's usually not very playful starts joking around with you a lot, especially in a warm, affectionate tone, pay attention. Those words, masked as humor, might be, trying to say what the heart still can't put into words. In the end, all of this shows us that silent love is anything but simple. It hides, it confuses, it contradicts itself, but it never completely disappears, because even when trying to deny it, the person ends up revealing little pieces of what they feel, in the sudden withdrawal, in the shy approach, in the gaze that lingers just a second too long, or in a silly little joke that echoes inside you for hours. In the next segments, we'll keep diving deeper into these paradoxical behaviors, and we'll learn how unspoken love often shows up as disguised jealousy, subtle possessiveness, and quiet but deeply emotional signs of care. Have you ever noticed how some people always seem to find a way to joke with you, even when the topic is serious, as if behind every joke there's a subtle touch of affection, almost childlike but full of meaning? Those playful moments, no matter how random they may seem at first, are rarely accidental. When someone constantly teases you, starts conversations with little jokes, or creates light-hearted games, it might be much more than just a way to have fun. In fact, it could be an unconscious attempt to create and maintain a constant connection with you, without directly exposing their emotions. It's as if this person were saying, "I want to be close to you, but I'm afraid to show how much." So instead of expressing their feelings clearly, they turn to humor, playfulness, and subtle emotional games. Like kids on the playground who show interest by tossing a classmate's pencil case on the floor or cracking silly jokes, adults, often unconsciously, can do the same when they don't know how to handle deep emotions. Carl Jung reminds us that the most subtle behaviors carry the most powerful symbols of the unconscious, and love, when repressed, needs to find alternate paths to express itself. Laughter, playful teasing, affectionate sarcasm, all of it can be an expression of intense emotion that, out of fear or insecurity, hasn't yet found space to be openly declared. These jokes, as silly as they might seem, serve as a bridge, an emotional channel that allows the person to interact with you without laying all their cards on the table. They ease tension, they test boundaries, they create disguised intimacy. So the next time someone insists on teasing you, lightly challenging you, or joking about sensitive topics in a respectful way, watch their eyes. Look for that sparkle, that hesitation, that nervousness. Many times, what comes off as a joke is actually a disguised confession of love. But love doesn't only hide in playful teasing, it also lives in memory, in that selective memory that holds onto tiny moments you've already forgotten. 4. They remember things even you forgot. Have you ever had someone remind you of something you barely recalled? A random comment you made months ago, a passing mention of your favorite kind of tea, a childhood movie you brought up just once, a trivial story you shared on a regular day, and somehow this person remembered it with surprising care. That kind of selective memory isn't random. It's a clear sign that you occupy a very special emotional space in that person's mind. When love is present, even if unspoken, the brain remembers the other person more vividly. It filters, holds on to, and values everything that comes from the one they love. Because every word carries weight. Every gesture becomes a symbol. Every conversation turns into a memory with emotional value. And we're not talking about people with exceptional memory. We're talking about people whose emotional attention is focused on you. The human mind tends to retain what affects us emotionally. If someone remembers details you didn't even find important, it means that to them you are important, much more than they may be ready to admit. It's almost as if every interaction with you is written in darker ink in the notebook of their memory. While others pass, through unnoticed, you remain. While other conversations fade, yours continues to echo. And the most fascinating part? Often the person themselves can't explain why they remembered that detail. But they did, Because that's what love is, paying attention effortlessly. It's absorbing, retaining, holding on, and valuing, even in silence, even without knowing what to do with all that love. So when someone surprises you by remembering a song you mentioned just once, or brings you the chocolate you said you liked months ago, or recalls something you lived through that you've already forgotten, understand this. That's care. That's presence. That's love. Maybe this person will never say, "I love you," but they've already said it with every memory they kept, with every detail they refused to forget, with every time they showed without words that everything coming from you holds special meaning. In the next segments, we'll continue unraveling the silent signs of repressed love. And we'll go even deeper into the most subtle behaviors, like unconditional support, hidden jealousy, and quiet gestures of care that speak louder than any open declaration. Have you ever stopped to think about how someone who truly cares about you seems to hold on to every fragment of your existence, as if every word you speak carries a specific weight, a different glow? Sometimes you don't even remember what you said, but that person remembers, not just remembers, cherishes, protects, as if they were collecting little pieces of you, silently building a puzzle where only they know how much each piece matters. That kind of attention doesn't come from ordinary affection. It comes from a deep, almost reverent interest. It's when love, even unspoken, transforms into a subtle form of devotion to everything you are. Every taste, every detail, every offhand remark. To that person, it all has meaning. It's as if you were a book worth rereading countless times, even the simplest chapters. And that same love that listens to every word also watches you, but not just any look, not the one that stares openly, boldly declaring love. I'm talking about the hidden glances, the ones that slip through when you're not paying attention. When you're talking to someone else, laughing at something silly, lost in thought, or simply existing without noticing, that's the exact moment when the gaze of someone who loves you in secret lingers on you. 5. They watch you when no one else is looking. This is one of the most powerful and silent signs of unspoken love, because true interest doesn't shine under the spotlight. It lives backstage. In those moments when no one else is paying attention, that person is. They're watching. It's the kind of glance that peeks from beneath lowered lashes, that pretends to be looking elsewhere, that hides behind feigned distraction, but in reality is drinking you in with curiosity and wonder. And the most curious part? Sometimes even they don't fully realize how often they look at you. But the eyes know. They follow you across the room. They seek your presence. They soak in every one of your expressions as if trying to memorize them forever. That gaze isn't casual. It's full of feeling. It's intense, almost hypnotic. It doesn't need words. It doesn't need overt intentions. It's simply pure. You may have caught someone like this before. A gaze that quickly looks away when you notice it. A face that flushes slightly when caught in the act. A look that tries to compose itself as if nothing happened. But something did happen. That look said everything the mouth never dared to say. Carl Jung taught us that much of what we feel and think manifests through symbols, gestures, images, and the gaze is perhaps the oldest symbol of them all. The eyes reveal what's hidden, and when someone looks at you in the moments they believe no one's watching, they're actually seeing you with their soul. Think about it. Who looks at you when no one else is looking? Who seems to watch you like someone admiring a rare masterpiece? Who gazes at you with eyes that ask for nothing, but give everything? These subtle observations are like silent pleas for connection. A love that doesn't dare to touch, but deeply longs to stay close. And along with that attentive gaze comes another gesture, perhaps even more delicate, yet just as revealing. 6. They listen to you like no one else does. How many times have you truly felt listened to, not just heard, but truly listened to? With attention, with presence, with soul. In most of our daily interactions, people listen to reply, not to understand. But when someone loves you in silence, they listen to feel. They listen to get closer. They listen because every word you say matters far too much to be ignored. This kind of listening is rare, it's precious, it's almost healing. You could be talking about a silly dream, a childhood memory, or even a random fear. And that person listens as if they were watching a one-of-a-kind sunset. Not because what you're saying is spectacular, but because you are the one saying it, and that alone is enough. They're not distracted, they're not glancing at their phone. They don't change the subject quickly. They dive into your words. And more than that, they remember. They repeat your words days later. They use expressions you've used. They apply your advice. They reference your ideas like treasures. That's the listening of love. A kind of listening that records, engages and values. And even in silence, it tells you, everything that comes from you matters to me. So if there's someone who watches you in the moments you think no one's looking, and listens to you like you're the most fascinating person in the world, now you know. That person feels something. Maybe they won't say it. Maybe they don't know how to act on it. But the feeling is there, present in every unspoken gesture, in every silence filled with meaning, in every detail only a heart in love would notice. In the upcoming segments, we'll explore more of these hidden signs, which, when seen together, reveal the clear portrait of a love that has yet to find its voice, but that, even in silence, speaks every day through gestures, memories, glances, and quiet moments. Listening to someone isn't just about hearing the sounds or words that come from their mouth. True listening is an art, a rare and precious skill. In the fast pace of modern life, it's common for people to hear just enough to reply, to keep the conversation going, or to make their point. But there's a kind of listening that goes far beyond that. It's a deep kind of listening that picks up not only words, but also emotion, intention, and the silence in between. And those who secretly love you are masters of this art. While most people go through life hearing only the surface, they listen with every ounce of attention they have, and even more than necessary. They don't just hear the obvious information, but pick up on the subtleties, the little nuances you might not even know you're expressing. They become attuned to your tone of voice, to the pauses, to the variations that reveal what you aren't saying. That laugh that sounds genuine, but hides a shadow of sadness. That smile you give when trying to cover up a troubling thought. The way you choose your words to avoid bringing up something that hurts. To them, these are like secret maps, clues to what's hidden inside you. They're the kind of people who care enough to notice when you're trying to be strong, even while feeling fragile inside. They can sense the weight you're carrying, even when you try to hide it. They're the ones who see beyond what you show the world. It's not just attention, it's sensitivity, an almost instinctive empathy that allows them to understand not just what you say, but what you feel. It's as if they have an emotional radar that picks up the invisible signals you give off without even realizing it. And this listening goes beyond the conscious. They hear what isn't said, they notice the silences, they understand the things between the lines. But more than that, they treasure it all. Every word, every sigh, every hesitation is carefully stored in their memory. And not just to bring up in future conversations, but because to them, all of it holds meaning. All of it matters. You might not always notice, but these details shape how they behave around you, how they subtly adapt to support you, how they quietly prepare the ground for the day when love might finally be spoken aloud. You may ask yourself, why don't they just say it? Why this dance of silences and glances? The answer, more often than not, is fear. Fear of rejection, fear of vulnerability, fear of the unknown. And so, instead of bold declarations, they choose to show how they feel through quiet care and deep, attentive listening. That is the beauty and the ache of hidden love. It doesn't show up in grand gestures or loud words, but hides in the little things. In the way someone, with a single thoughtful glance or a perfectly timed word, makes you feel seen and understood. Just imagine the power in that gesture. Someone who doesn't just hear your words, but perceives the whole story behind them. Who knows when your smile is just a mask, when your voice trembles, who is present, even when you think you're alone? That kind of awareness is a clear sign. There is someone who loves you in secret, someone who may never say it directly, but is there in a way very few people ever are. And for that love to truly come to light, we have to learn how to recognize and appreciate these signs. Because often what the heart longs for most is hidden between the lines, in the tone of a voice, in the smallest gestures of care, in the quiet patience of someone who even listens to your silence. In the upcoming segments, we'll continue exploring these silent signs, like quiet protectiveness, discreet jealousy, and other behaviors that reveal deep emotion. Even if it's never spoken out loud, silent love is a master of many things, especially the art of sensing without words. Have you ever noticed how someone seems to know exactly what you're thinking or feeling, even when you haven't said a thing? That almost magical ability to fully understand another person, to perceive their desires, fears, and needs without them having to explain, is one of the deepest manifestations of secret love. It's as if this person has an emotional antenna, a sharpened sensitivity that connects them directly to your inner world. It's no coincidence that they know when you're sad, even when you insist on smiling, or when something's bothering you, even if you cover it with small talk. They feel it, they sense it, they just know. This kind of listening goes far beyond hearing. It's true presence, a full dive into who you are, a kind of listening that's never shallow. Because for someone who loves you in secret, every word you say carries a special weight, a meaning far beyond the surface. And more than that, this love shows up in silent care, in the ability to anticipate your needs, to be by your side exactly when you need someone, even if you never ask. It's a kind of presence that comforts and strengthens, an invisible safety that holds your soul. But hidden love doesn't just reveal itself in unspoken words or meaningful silences. It also shows up in behavior, in the unique, special way someone acts around you, different from how they are with anyone else. 7. They act differently around you, to you and only around you. Have you ever noticed how some people seem to change when they're near you? Maybe someone who's usually extroverted and talkative suddenly becomes more quiet and introspective when you're around. Or the opposite, a shy and reserved person who only in your presence lights up, laughs more, becomes more open and spontaneous. These behavioral shifts are clear signs that something deeper is happening, because the way we act says a lot about how we feel. When we like someone, especially when that feeling is hidden, we tend to behave differently, sometimes even contradictorily, around that person. Imagine someone who's naturally calm and social. They talk to everyone with ease, seem comfortable in any setting, but when they're with you, they become more serious, as if the world suddenly became deeper, more meaningful. Or maybe they get more nervous, more careful, like they're afraid to say the wrong thing. On the other hand, some people feel so safe with you that they open up completely. That quiet person who barely speaks to others, but with you, they laugh out loud, crack jokes, share secrets they've never told anyone else. That contrast is a strong indicator that love is there, pulsing, growing, trying to find a way out. The fact that someone acts differently with you isn't just about personality or circumstance. It's their body and mind responding to a feeling that's deep and intense. It's a living expression of what they're holding inside, even if they never say it aloud. This change in behavior can show up in many forms: in a voice that suddenly softens or firms up, in a gaze that becomes sharper or avoids you entirely, in a touch that's either extra gentle or strangely restless. Each of these small changes is like a clue, a silent invitation for you to notice what hasn't been spoken yet. So when someone acts differently around you, whether more serious, more joyful, more shy or more outgoing, pay attention. That behavior is one of the clearest signs that hidden feelings may be trying to come to the surface. But it doesn't stop there. In the upcoming chapters, we'll explore even deeper signals that someone may love you in secret, from protective gestures to subtle signs of jealousy to those nearly invisible actions that show care in ways only the heart can recognize. Have you ever noticed how, around certain people, their entire behavior shifts, almost imperceptibly? Maybe someone who usually speaks without thinking suddenly chooses every word carefully when talking to you. Or maybe they scan the room just to find your eyes, and the moment they do, they look away, as if trying to hide a feeling that's slipping through the cracks. That transformation, however subtle, is full of meaning. It's the body, the mind, and the heart moving in sync, trying to protect something precious, a powerful, often unspoken feeling. They may become more nervous around you, more attentive to every gesture you make, trying to find ways to be near you without seeming too obvious. It's as if their subconscious is speaking louder than reason, pushing them to seek your company, to get closer, to be part of your world, even if discreetly. This change in behavior isn't random. It springs from the special bond that person feels for you, an invisible yet solid tie that makes every interaction charged with a unique energy, an energy that exists only between the two of you. And along with this silent search for closeness comes discreet care, a kind of care that doesn't need grand declarations to be genuine, but reveals itself in the smallest actions, often unnoticed by those who don't know how to look closely. 8. They care for you quietly. True love doesn't need to announce itself with loud gestures or grand displays. It shows up in the little things, silent actions that express concern, respect, and affection. Those who love you in secret are experts at caring for you without you clearly noticing, but feeling it deeply. It might be as simple as asking if you've eaten, noticing your tiredness before you even mention being exhausted. Maybe they offer help spontaneously, even when you haven't asked for it. These gestures may seem small or trivial, but they carry enormous meaning. It's as if in every detail there's a message. I care about you. You matter to me. A quiet affection that seeks no recognition, no applause, but beats with sincerity. And truth, contrary to what many think, love doesn't need to prove itself with showiness. It doesn't need dramatic gestures to exist. Often, the most authentic form of love lies in what is done quietly, without fanfare, without expecting anything in return, without needing to be seen. Those who love in secret know this. They don't try to impress you with big displays because they know what matters is the essence, true care, even if hidden. They watch you carefully, notice when something's wrong, and act to protect you, even if it means staying in the background, away from the spotlight, silent and patient. You might not immediately notice these gestures, but they leave deep marks on the soul. They are seeds of trust and security, slowly building a solid foundation for something greater, even if, for now, kept secret. Thus, this discreet love expresses itself in everyday life, in routine, in attention that seems simple. But to those who know how to see, it's an ocean of care and of feeling. In the next sections, we'll continue to uncover these nuances of silent love, exploring behaviors that show protection, disguised jealousy, and that almost imperceptible care. But that says everything. Have you noticed how, often, the greatest demonstration of love isn't in grand declarations or promises made to the wind, but in silent, constant attention to your well-being? When someone truly loves, their care for you transcends words. It shows up in concern that goes beyond the obvious, in delicate vigilance, ensuring you're okay even when you don't realize you need help. This invisible care doesn't require the person to say, "I love you," for you to know the feeling exists. True love doesn't need permission to exist. It reveals itself, sometimes shyly, sometimes intensely, in everyday details, in small gestures that seem ordinary but carry immense depth. Glances that look away the moment you notice them but say everything the voice dares not express. Gestures that seek no recognition but leave a trail of affection and dedication. Unspoken words that transform into actions, care, and presence. The 8 signs we explored together reveal exactly this: a deep affection, often hidden behind masks of fear, insecurity, or simply discretion. And this invisibility, far from diminishing the intensity of the feeling, actually makes it even more special. A love that pulses behind the scenes, sustaining and strengthening without needing to be shown. If you recognized any of these signs in someone close to you, then maybe right there by your side is a person who loves you silently, someone who cares for you with genuine dedication even if you don't notice, someone who feels deep and true emotions but hasn't yet found the courage or the right moment to confess them. So, what do you have to say about that? Have you ever felt that someone loved you more than they said? Have you noticed those little signs that, at first glance, seemed disconnected, but that today you understand as clues of a true hidden feeling? Love isn't always obvious. It doesn't always come in the form of words or public declarations. Often it hides in the subtext of everyday life, in simple actions, in details that the rush of life makes us miss at first. But if you look closely with an open heart, these signs begin to reveal themselves. And maybe by noticing them, you can start to better understand what happens in the relationships around you, and perhaps even recognize the silent love that might be there, right near you. In the next section, we will close this journey with a deep reflection on what it means to live such a love, hidden yet intense, and what we can learn from it for our own emotional lives. Love is undoubtedly one of the most mysterious and powerful forces that move the world, and at the same time, one of the quietest. It doesn't need to be displayed in grand gestures or shouted to the 4 winds to exist. Often, love hides in the shadows of everyday life, in acts so subtle they go unnoticed by those who don't know how to look carefully. But it's precisely this invisibility that makes love even more fascinating. It manifests in countless ways, often camouflaged by fears, insecurities, hesitations, and the very fear of vulnerability. And it is exactly this hidden love, the kind that doesn't reveal itself in direct words but pulses intensely in the details, that we've been exploring together on this journey. If you've made it this far, it's because you've already felt or suspected that someone might love you more than they show. Maybe you've noticed small signs, gestures, glances, or behaviors that seemed confusing or contradictory, but that over time began to make sense. Perhaps you've wondered if it's possible to love and care without having to say, "I love you." The answer is a powerful, definitive yes. True love, deep love, often doesn't need words to be recognized. It speaks through silence, devoted attention, and quiet care. It appears in memories that hold your details, in listening that understands without needing explanations, in glances that watch you when you're not looking. This love is there, even when you think it's not. And it's precisely this invitation, the invitation to open your eyes and heart, that I leave with you now. Because often, in the rush of daily life, we lose the chance to see what really matters. we miss the opportunity to recognize the love that already lives close to us, in people who may just be waiting for the right moment to reveal it. So ask yourself, how many times have you let a look, a gesture, an unspoken word pass by without noticing the depth they carried? How many times has silent love been by your side, waiting to be welcomed? Recognizing that love is an act of courage, the courage to open yourself to another, to embrace what is unspoken, to value the invisible. Here, at the Mente Inabalable channel, our commitment is exactly this: to help you see beyond appearances, understand the nuances of human behavior, deepen your self-knowledge, and cultivate true, meaningful relationships. So, if this reflection touched you in any way, I invite you to continue walking with us. Subscribe to Mente Inabalable to receive more content that challenges the obvious and invites you to look inward, to the essence of who we are. Because the journey of self-discovery is ongoing, and love, whether declared or silent, deserves to be understood in all its depth. Share your experience, your story, or that moment when you noticed hidden love around you in the comments. Your voice can inspire others to open their eyes to the small but powerful manifestations of love. Never underestimate the power of invisible love. It's there, even when you don't see it, and when you finally open your eyes to it, your life can change in ways you never imagined. Thank you for being here, for joining this journey with us. I'll see you in the next video, ready to explore more about the mind, behavior, and the complexity of human relationships, always here on Mente Inabalable.